This is subtle, but it's super important. Let me connect the dots here. This is what J.D. Vance reported on the day of the murder of Alex Preddy, and he reposted Stephen Miller saying, "An assassin tried to murder federal agents, and this is your response." Again, this was well before anybody had time to look into the reality of what actually happened. This was reckless on the part of Stephen Miller. Let's just brand the guy an assassin before we even understand what happened, before we even have time to possibly understand what happened. Let's put this out to the whole country. But it really gets bad when we look at it next to this. This was more recently. J.D. Vance, when I was in Minneapolis, he tells this whole story about off-duty ICE officers who were going to dinner in Minneapolis. They were doxxed and their location revealed. The restaurant was then mobbed. The officers were locked in the restaurant. Well, by the way, restaurants lock from the inside, not the outside, so they locked themselves in the restaurant because they didn't want to confront the people. This does not prove that anything was going to happen to them. It proves that they were scared. That's it. This is just a taste. Listen to this. This is where the subtlety comes in, but it's really important. This is just a taste of what's happening in Minneapolis because state and local officials refuse to cooperate with immigration enforcement. They have created the chaos so that they can have moments like yesterday where someone tragically dies. That sounds subtle, but that's very important. Where someone tragically dies and politicians get to grandstand about the evils of enforcing the border. Well, the first thing I notice is that he's not making any sense here because politicians getting to grandstand about the evils of enforcing the border has nothing to do with what they were talking about in response to the death. It's an immediate deflection away from that. But let's go back. He did say someone tragically dies. Right here, he reposted that the person who died was an assassin who tried to murder federal agents. Doesn't sound like that person's death would be all that tragic. But right here, he's realized that that death was tragic, and so now he's trying to shift the blame to the local politicians. This is the local politicians' fault that he died. Now he's admitting that the death was tragic, that it shouldn't have happened, but it's the local politicians' fault. J.D. Vance, you are changing your imaginary narrative so fast that you can't even keep up with it. Right? They have created the chaos so that they can have moments like yesterday where someone tragically dies. This is crazy. This is someone who cannot even decide what story he wants to tell to demonize his political enemies. One moment, the guy who died was an assassin who was trying to murder federal agents. The next day, his death was tragic, but it's the fault of local officials refusing to cooperate with immigration enforcement. But what we are hearing from credible sources in Minneapolis is that what's happening is not enforcement. It's targeting, it's reckless, it is constantly violating the civil rights of everyday American citizens. That's why they're protesting. That's why they don't want ICE there. It's not because they're opposed to lawful immigration enforcement. It's because they're opposed to the reckless, crazy, insightful way that it's being approached, or the reckless actions that are being taken in some cases instead of actual immigration enforcement. Why are you not believing what those people who are actually living it, who actually live there, who are actually experiencing it, why do you not believe what they have to say? What the chief of police of Minneapolis, who is still pro-ICE, he may eventually become not pro-ICE if this goes on long enough, but he's still pro-ICE and pro-ICE enforcement, but he says the things that are being done and the way that the civil rights of people are being constantly violated, it needs to stop. But as I guess you sitting in your armchair have a better understanding of what's happening in Minneapolis. And why do you understand it so well? Because you believe what the government is telling you. I hope this helps you see. that people at the highest levels of government are not telling you the truth and don't even have the intention or desire to.